Welcome to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I'm Drew's co-host, entertainment writer Jim Hill, and he and I are recording the show on Friday, February 26, 2020. So, other than walking Nova the Wonder Dog, what did we do with our Friday, Drew?
I went to Krispy Kreme and bought a bunch of donuts because if you drive by while the sign says they're hot, then you get 12 for $5. You get a dozen for $5.
Time well spent. Well, again, in my former life, before I became a diabetic, yeah, Alice and I did that once. It's a pretty heady sugar rush.
Yeah. Well, what's insidious is that you can just eat. They're so light, you can eat half a dozen and not even know it. The worst is when somebody, in the days of offices, when someone would bring in some for somebody's birthday or something, and then they would just sit there on the table uneaten, and he would just go, "Oh, I'm gonna just have one more," and then you crash. Then you have your sugar crash.
Well, and I again, for those who haven't experienced the whole hot Krispy Kreme thing, Krispy Kreme donuts I don't think age particularly well.
No.
Once they cool, I mean, you look at it and it's like, well, that's going straight into the aorta.
Right.
It's just sort of like, we operated on Nancy, and we found his heart was clogged entirely with Krispy Kremes. It was very sad. So, all right. Here at this end, on the other hand, in fact, Nancy turned on FXM earlier today, and they actually ran the Peanuts movie and Ferdinand back to back.
Okay.
And it was just two great looking blue sky movies, and I'm still mad about Disney's decision to shutter that animation studio. Again, especially in this content is king era. I, on the other hand, because today, Myth, A Frozen Tale, debuted on Disney Plus, sat down and watched that, 11 minutes and change.
Was that the first time you saw it?
That was the first time I saw it. In fact, I'm incredibly jealous that you got to see the Oculus Quest version of this thing. It must have been amazing to stand in that world and to be able to pivot around.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the coolest part about it is the Brittany Lee production design, right? I mean, it's just unbelievable. Yeah. Well, I mean, face it, it's an A-team there. I mean, you've got Jeff Gibson, who directed it and produced by Nicholas Russell, and kudos to Jose Luis Gomez Diaz, the VR technical supervisor. But yeah, Brittany, oh my God. I love how she got her paper cut like design in there. I especially love that moment where they transition from inside the cottage to the storybook world kind of comes up behind them. Definitely worth checking out. But again, I'm jealous you got to do the Oculus Rift thing, and I'm particularly jealous that you got to see Raya and the Last Dragon this past weekend, right? Yes, yeah, I have seen it. It is great, but we'll talk about that later, right?
Yes, second half of the show. Okay, so jumping into a lot of animation news this week, folks. But that's largely in the back of the Television Critics Association Winter Press Tour, right?
Yes.
Which normally is a real thing. People go out to LA and spend 2 weeks, seeing presentations by all the networks. But of course, now with the pandemic, they're doing it virtual. So, have you gotten to see any of the stuff yet? Or
I mean, I wasn't covering it, but I saw the trailers and stuff that leaked out afterwards onto social media, which is fine by me. As much as I love hearing some executive producer pontificate about the importance of their new show that will be off the air in 6 weeks and no one will ever remember it. But,
I honestly hope that is not the case with Marvel's MODOK. Hulu, I think, was one of the very first networks to present, and so they walked out this show, so I guess we're getting 10 episodes. It's produced by Stupid Buddy Studios, the folks who brought us Adult Swim Robot Chicken. And I guess this project was announced in January of last year. And it's been on my radar ever since they announced that Patton Oswalt is the voice of the title character. I've been a Patton fan ever since. Did you ever hear his Star Wars riff?
Yes, about killing George Lucas as a child.
Yes, beating him to death with a shovel. Yes. One of the greatest pieces of stand-up I'd ever heard. And from that moment on, it's like, I love this guy.
Well, what's interesting about the MODOK thing, though, is that it was announced with all those other Marvel shows that have since gone the way of the dinosaur. And I feel like MODOK was just too far along for them to cancel it. So it's coming out despite, remember Hellstrom, and they were going to do that whole thing where the show's interconnected and all that nonsense. Yeah.
But now you're making me sad. This makes me think we're only going to get 10 and gone. Ow! Okay. Also coming out of this Hulu presentation to the television critics thing, we found out we're getting a third season of Animaniacs. And I know you're always after me to do my homework, to actually watch things, Drew. I did just last night watch the last 4 episodes of season 1 of Animaniacs. And I think they were somewhat better than the 9 that came before them. Have you? I guess you only watched the first.
I only watched the ones that I had to for the press day, but I would go back and watch. I know that season 2 is coming up sometime soon. So
I mean, I have to admit, I was kind of surprised as how political it got, because they went after Wayne LaPierre from the NRA. Not that they shouldn't. Likewise, they periodically take swings at Tucker Carlson at Fox News. They have a character, Tuck Buckerson. You, as an LA resident, would have, I think, enjoyed one of the episodes I watched last night where they were talking about the arduous trip that they made from Burbank all the way over to Glendale. But a couple of neat little shows in the pile. There was one where they sent up Warner Brothers' version of It. They had Yakko, Wacko, and Dot tormenting Nickelwide the clown as opposed to Pennywise.
Okay.
Remember when Warner Brothers did its own Halloween event on the lot?
Yes.
This episode seemed to be set during that. And also there were some deep cuts that were fun. There was a Pinky and the Brain episode involving an electric car where at one point the car is being menaced by the truck from Duel, Spielberg's first movie, or TV movie, excuse me. And then after all these years, we finally found out who was driving the truck, and it turns out it was E.T. So cute, but I don't know. I'm hoping they get stronger as we go into 2 and 3. All right, so then Disney Plus follows Hulu at the Television Critics Association. So we got info about The Bad Batch and again, I feel like an idiot that I didn't put this together myself, but of course The Bad Batch is going to debut on Disney Plus on May 4th, as in May the 4th be with you. Had you heard that Monsters at Work was going to bow in July?
No, I think that they're ahead of schedule. I think they were maybe behind schedule, and now they kind of caught up and are ahead of schedule. Because I had heard that it would be a miracle if they got it on the air this year. So something happened.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we all know, and I think there's some confusion on this, that it's a Disney television animation project. Pixar has nothing to do with this. So I don't know what changed, but I'm excited to see it on July 2nd.
And I guess part of the confusion there is, I mean, face it, you have John Goodman coming back as Sully, Billy Crystal, coming back as Mike. Ratzenberg is back as Yeti. Jennifer Tilly's back as Celia. And did you see where Bob Peterson is now voicing not only Roz, but her twin sister, Rose? So, all right. I mean, again, I have to admit, I love the premise of the whole Tyler Tuskman, who was at the top of his class at Monster University in Scare School, but he arrives at Monsters, Inc. the very day when they switch over from scaring to laughing. So it's an interesting premise, and I'll be intrigued to see how it pans out. I'm especially interested that they got Henry Winkler to come on board to voice a character, Fritz, the scattered brain boss. So I'll give it a try come July 2nd. On the other hand, what about Chippendale Park Life, this series of new shows?
Yeah, I had not heard about those at all. I mean, the little image they showed looks really great, but yeah, it's very different than the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie that they're working on, because this seems like they're not in their Rescue Ranger mode. They're just chipmunks. Yep. They're in a park in the city, right?
Yeah, in fact, that's the name of the show, Chippendale Park Life. And yeah, tiny troublemakers try to live the good life in a big city park, having giant-sized sky-high adventures. And it's
But these are legitimately shorts. These are 7 minutes long. I guess there's 36 episodes being produced. But as you pointed out, again, this is not the John Mulaney, Andy Samberg Rescue Rangers movie. In fact, that's not due till spring of 2022.
Yeah.
Just this week, we also got the character redesigns for the Proud Family Louder and Prouder debuted. And again, I don't know if you caught the show when it debuted way back when. What was it? September of 2001. Wrapped its run by August of 2005. Oof. Again, they got 2 seasons, 52 episodes. It was a funny show. I was always intrigued. It had it was Bruce W. Smith and Ralph Farquaad, the series creator, executive producer. In fact, they're coming back for this reboot. But it always intrigued me that this very authentic African-American animated sitcom, which, by the way, was the first animated Disney Channel original series. Disney Television Animation had nothing to do with it.
Oh, interesting.
But it's Mike Peraza, who did a lot of the design on the show. Oh, he was the art director. So, yeah. But anyway, a lot of the original voice talent are coming back. And again, it's the same production team. In fact, that's what's fun about the design. Penny Proud's now 14, so everybody's aged up a little bit. But beyond that, it's very reminiscent of the first show.
Yeah, the designs are really gorgeous. It looks great. I can't wait.
After Disney and after Hulu, here comes Paramount Plus. And you were mentioning how you got to see the trailers and the clips after the fact. What did you make of the Rugrats CG footage that came out?
It didn't look terrible. I just sort of thought, well, what is the point if you're just going to mimic the Gabor Supko look so diligently? You know what I mean? I just thought I didn't really get it. But you remember when you were in town and you accidentally, and I use that in quotes, overheard the discussion? Yeah. Was that what you saw?
I was outside the hotel with Alice, and all of these folks from Nickelodeon came snarling out of a function room at the hotel. They had just done an offsite for the reboot of Rugrats. And the thing is, they had all of this presentation art, they had all of these beat boards, but they're carrying them openly. And so, and both Alice and I are trying not to be too obvious about reading everything that's in front of us. But they were talking about a real departure from the Rugrats show. And didn't they did do a Rugrats follow-up where they aged up.
They did, and right? I think at one point they were talking about a live-action version. You remember that?
That's right, yeah. So it's weird. What was on the beat boards is not what the CG thing, which, face it, going back to the original voice talent and very much sticking to the style of the original show, I just get the sense that when it came time to finally commit, rather than take a brave departure, it's like, no, let's make some safer choices. On the other hand, speaking of departures or lack thereof, you've got to see, 2 episodes of Camp Coral?
Yes, I did. One was a full 22-minute episode, and then the other one was 2 11-minute episodes, which is, the typical SpongeBob length. But they were done sort of in the same Rugrat style, where it is computer animated. It was interesting to see something that was more organic looking in animation than something like Star Wars, which is pretty rigid. It was interesting. Like we were sort of talking before the show that there wasn't a lot of... the sort of camp aspect of it was kind of superfluous, I thought. It was just sort of them... They were younger, but they were still sort of doing the same things. But the first episode is about SpongeBob's first time jellyfishing. Oh. So I know you had a lot of questions about that, Jim. So every one of those will be answered. But I was also telling you before the show that I noticed that on one of the 11 minutes, it was actually storyboarded by the great John Sanford, who Disney animation fans should know as the head of story on Atlantis, the director on Sweating Bullets, a.k.a. what was it? Home on the Range.
Home on the Range, yep.
And he was back in the game and doing great work there, so definitely worth checking out on March 4th on Paramount Plus alongside Sponge on the Run, which I'm so excited to watch not in 1,000 YouTube clips as you directed me to, Jim. So yeah.
I take what I can get. I take what I can get. All right. And,
Yeah.
Speaking again, the Paramount Plus presentation, we also at least got character designs for Star Trek Prodigy.
Looks great.
You and I are decidedly in the minority here because I guess the Star Trek fan community immediately climbed up one side and down the other on this show because it just basically saying those don't look like Star Trek characters. And it's like, really? You don't want to wait to see the first episode and see if the script, you're going to just look at this and decide? It's like,
God.
Makes me crazy. All right. Also, to sort of wrap up the Paramount Plus side of things, this is a fairly ambitious thing they're trying to do with Avatar, the Last Airbender, where we get, an animated feature and spin-offs?
Yeah, I think it's spin-offs of Avatar and Korra. They created a new animation studio basically to handle all of this stuff because the content has never been more popular, which is great. I mean, I love, Avatar and Korra are great. So now we're going to get a lot more content. And it sounds like the co-creators left the Netflix live action series, which I'm not really sure if that is still happening or not, but they seem to have left it to focus on these spin-offs and sequels. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I worry that it's going to be too much of a good thing, but bring it on, I say.
Okay. All right. Well, stepping away from the TCA and the presentations there, you made sure as we were putting together the to-do list, so to speak, for this podcast, to bring up this Great Gatsby animated film that coming from William Joyce, which that's really a surprise to have him directing. Tell people what he almost directed.
Well, he almost co-directed Rise of the Guardians with Peter Ramsey because he, at one time, I don't know if this is still around or anymore, but he had a shingle within Real FX, and they were supposed to handle it, and then that fell through. It got developed by DreamWorks, and so he was going to co-direct it, and then unfortunately he had a family tragedy. His daughter passed away unexpectedly, so he sort of stepped aside. But, I mean, animation fans should know William Joyce just by the amount of stuff that he has inspired, right? 2 Blue Sky movies, Robots and Epic. He worked on Toy Story, doing absolutely fabulous sort of art design for characters, as well as Bug's Life. And so everyone should know him. He also... I forgot he had the story that Meet the Robinses was based on too. So
he did A Day with Will Robinson.
Pretty amazing background, right? But are you excited about this? How do you feel about it?
I'm excited about him making an animated feature. I just don't know about Gatsby, but
yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be surprised. I mean, well, hell, I had the same reaction this week when. Did you see the news about how Spirited Away, the Hayao Miyazaki film, is being turned into a stage play?
Yes, and I surreptitiously sent that to my wife because, we were supposed to go to Japan for our honeymoon and have not gone yet because the world ended. So I was sort of saying, we could go in time to watch this Spirited Away
you should...
Broadway show. I'm sure that she would love to sit through a Japanese language theatrical presentation based on an animated feature during her honeymoon. I'm sure that's exactly what she wants, Jim,
okay. Because I sense the sarcasm, so I was about to suggest. Well, it's going to be in Osaka. It starts in Tokyo, February and March of 2022. Then it tours. It goes to Osaka in April of 2022, and you could double up. You could do the Universal Studios Japan.
That's right.
Which is also in Osaka. I want to stress here that there's a talented troupe behind this. John Caird of the Royal Shakespeare Company. He directed the recent revivals of Les Mis and Nicholas Nickleby. He's the one, sort of piloting this project, and Toho, the company that actually made the original film or paid Studio Ghibli to make the film. They're behind this project as well, and I've been hearing that
it was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child that kind of kicked open the door for this. That show with bringing, the world of Harry Potter to life on stage and what you could do with stage illusions and that sort of thing. It's like, well, we could do that with the magical bathhouse. So that's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to know how they're going to do some of the transformations and the no-face character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, keep an eye out for that, folks. Again, debuting in Japan in 2022 and touring and hopefully maybe coming stateside. Anyway, last minute news. In fact, please, you take it, Drew.
Well, I think this is pretty cool news, but Skydance, which is the latest in a long line of production entities that has owned the rights to the Terminator movie, is teaming up with Production IG to create a Terminator anime series for Netflix that is being overseen by one of the writers on the new Batman movie, The Batman. His name is Mattson Tomlin. And he also wrote Project Power for Netflix, so they know him well. But yeah, how do you feel about this, Jim? Did you see the last Terminator? Because I thought it was pretty cool, and then nobody went to watch it.
How many times in like the past 10 years it's like, oh, this is the first film of a new trilogy. And then it's like, oh, God,
right,
please disregard that film. Here's the new trilogy. It's a great set of characters. It's a fascinating world. And maybe anime's the way to do it.
Yeah.
If, you had told me, a year or so ago that, the way Star Wars was going to survive, if not thrive, was through television, through things like The Mandalorian, I don't know if I would have bought into that. So maybe this is the way to go with this.
Yeah, and any production IG project I feel is always worth watching. I mean, they're the ones behind Ghost in the Shell, Jinro the Wolf Brigade, Blood the Last Vampire, and if you're not a complete anime nut, they did the O-Ren Ishii sequence in Kill Bill, Volume 1.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. You've convinced me. All right. We'll sit down and watch this one. And this guy knows his stuff because he saw Raya, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But first, a quick commercial break.
This episode is brought to you by Marqeta. When it comes to your payments provider, you can't afford to compromise. Marqeta's modern payment solutions flex with your business without the trade-offs. Stable and agile, secure and innovative, scalable and configurable. If they say you can't have it all, don't believe them. Your business demands more. Choose a payments provider that delivers more. Choose Marqeta. Visit marqeta.com/Spotify to learn more.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
This episode is brought to you by Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 is the ultimate all-out warfare experience. Rip through the skies in aerial dogfights. Demolish your surroundings for a strategic advantage. Harness complete control over every action and movement using the kinesthetic combat system. Drop into multiplayer with your squad, or fight furiously as a member of the Dagger 1-3 squad in a gritty, adrenaline-fueled single-player campaign where you'll defend a world on the edge of collapse.
This has been such a big animation week. In fact, I'm kind of embarrassed that here we are talking about everything at the Television Critics Association thing, and we haven't even yet talked about the Luca teaser trailer yet.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was very charming. I really liked the look of it. I thought it was interesting that they did not say only in theaters or anything at the end of the teaser, which I think speaks volumes as to how sort of in flux things still are, right? But yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I love that it's like this post-war Italy setting, but yeah, it looks very odd and fun. What did you think?
I was a little confused because my understanding the first time the story was explained to me was that it was kind of fish out of water isn't the right way to describe the story, because basically it's a young teen boy who befriended a sea monster who transforms into human form when they came, he comes on land, and it's showing him the wonders of the human world. And the teaser I saw, that doesn't seem to be this movie anymore.
Yeah.
If anything, both of these characters seem to transform into creatures once they get in the water. Or for that matter, they get splashed with water. In fact, that moment in the trailer was great. The dining room table with, suddenly transforming. I mean, it looks great. I loved Enrico Carosa's first thing for Pixar, La Luna. I really wish that had taken home an Academy Award back in 2011, 2012. I mean, it looks great. It has great character design. I was also surprised to see we've got Maya Rudolph and Jim Gaffigan in the voice cast. So very, very much looking forward to June 18th. The question now is, am I going to see this in a theater, or am I going to see this on Disney Plus?
You're right that the log line was very different when it was initially announced. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if that girl character is supposed to be the sort of human they befriend. But it reminds me a little bit of the original version of Onward, where there were the two brothers were joined by a female character.
That's right. The centaur, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So I'm just having flashbacks to that stuff. But yeah, it looks very. I love the art style. It's just so unique too. It looks really, really cool.
A lot of people are going to book trips to Italy once we can all travel again on the back of that movie. Did you see this past weekend, The Croods: A New Age? Again, remember, this movie was released back in November of last year, November 25th to be exact, that it was the number one film at the box office, theatrical box office, this past weekend. And that's like the second or third weekend in a row it's done that?
Yeah. Yeah, I was. Yeah, we were sort of pre-gaming a little bit, and it looks like it could overtake Tenet as the highest grossing domestic film released during quarantine.
Oh.
So, whatever that means, Jim.
Okay.
But yeah.
That means that, there are executives at Warner Brothers climbing up to the tower and, just hoping, Wacko, Yakko, and Dot will let them jump.
Right. But I mean, it also speaks to how important these kids' movies are during the quarantine. And this weekend, obviously, Tom and Jerry is coming out, and I hope everybody listened to our chat with Tim Story. He was so much fun.
He was.
But and then obviously in a couple weeks, next week, I guess, we got Raya and the Last Dragon coming out in theaters and on Disney Plus.
Okay, so this is first time in a while. I want to say since Big Hero 6 back in 2014 that. It's not a musical?
Ralph Breaks the Internet. Although there was a song in that.
Well, that's the thing. I get it. That Slaughter Race, given that there's a full-blown production number, which I love, But okay, so set in the fictitious world of Kumandra, largely inspired by Southeast Asia, with particularly Indonesian culture, and kind of a really timely story, the notion of healing a fractured society on the heels of the 2020 election cycle. I mean, this right story at the right time. But again, not a musical. Just one song. In fact, just before we were recording, Disney released the official soundtrack. So I was putting together the show notes tonight, so I was listening to that. And he's worked for Disney twice before. In fact, your famous go to London, go to see a film being made and never talk about it. Nutcracker in the Four Realms. And I guess he's also done the score for the Jungle Cruise movie that'll be coming out this summer.
Well, and animation-wise, Jim, he did Dinosaur.
That's right. That's right.
He did Atlantis, and then, if you'll remember, he was the 11th hour replacement for Alan Silvestri on Treasure Planet. So he has the dubious distinction of scoring the two incredibly expensive sci-fi animated flops from Disney Animation. So
I still like that movie.
This one will do better, Jim. I promise.
Okay. Yeah. Now speaking of which, Raya is directed by Don Hall and Carlos Lopez Estrada, co-directed by Paul Briggs and John Ripa. Now it's interesting. You mentioned Treasure Planet just now. John Ripa was the supervising animator on Jim Hawkins. He'd been at Disney since Lion King, the original, back in '94, supervising animator on The Baby and Young Tarzan in 1999 Tarzan,
And again, worked on 2002's Treasure Planet. And since then, he's worked mostly in the story side of the street. He was the lead story artist on Big Hero 6 and then head of story on Moana. Paul Briggs, on the other hand, was head of story on Frozen, Big Hero 6, and Zootopia. And Don Hall co-directed Winnie the Pooh in 2011, Big Hero 6 in 2014, and Moana in 2016. So that's four animated features in 10 years. That's very impressive. But the fourth leg of the table here, Carlos Lopez Estrada, he's the one who's directing that live-action CG version of Robin Hood that I think we talked about last year. He's also got a yet unnamed animated feature in the works for Disney that's supposed to come out sometime in 2023. And then just to pivot quickly to the producer side, we have Osnet Schurer, who's the producer of Moana. And then we have Peter Del Vecchio, who produced Princess and the Frog, Winnie the Pooh, Frozen, the original Frozen, and then Frozen 2. And if you remember that Into the Unknown behind-the-scenes series that they did on Disney Plus last year, did you watch any of those?
Yes, of course. He's the reason why we don't know what we're on those comment cards, Jim. I was dying to know.
Yes, but at the same time, Peter looked so exhausted at the end of Frozen 2. I mean, they brought it over the finish line. It made big bucks. So I'm just fascinated that he went from working on that to pivoting to work on Moana. Though, didn't you have kind of an interesting theory as to why he got roped into this?
Well, I mean, this movie, we should talk about the production hiccups that went through this movie, right? I mean, 2019, an entirely different filmmaking team was announced for the movie. Paul Briggs was one of the directors instead of co-directing, and he was joined by Dean Wellens, who is a longtime story artist at Disney, who, remember, he almost got that Space Race movie off the ground a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then, like, literally weeks later, Briggs was downgraded. They brought in John Ripa. They replaced the two main directors with Hall and Lopez Estrada. They fired and replaced the lead voice actress. Do you remember Cassie Steele was originally playing Raya instead of Kelly Marie Tran?
There we go. Yep.
And so, yeah, I think that this movie took a lot of corralling to get together. But you're right. All the Moana parallels are dead on, Jim. I mean, it's a mythical land. It's a sort of deity character going on a quest. But I don't remember my theory. Tell me my theory that I have completely forgotten about now.
Well, you had mentioned that given that Peter had worked on, two films that had lots of effects and, these ridiculously dense environments, that he was the kind of guy you could grab and it's like, hey, we're working on the story. Can you make sure they deliver the world? And
yes,
that was, poor Peter. It's like, I was going to go lay in a chair somewhere and rest. No, we need you to come over here and work. But again, interesting. You mentioned the Moana thing, because what I've been hearing from folks is that when you look at how many of these people worked on both Big Hero 6 and Moana, this is kind of the Venn diagram, that space in the Venn diagram where Raya and the Last Dragon falls. That it's this action film set in, or an exotic world with a film with an exotic world and lots of big action scenes. So does it work?
It does work. It is a absolutely wonderful film. I absolutely loved it, and I cannot recommend it enough. Whether or not you're going to go, risk life and limb to go see it in the theater, or if you want to pay $30 on Disney Plus, but it is absolutely wonderful. I cannot wait for you to see it, Jim. I think you're going to be really surprised by this one.
Okay, now speaking of which, though, you obviously viewed this at home. I was literally tonight looking at, do I go to a movie theater and do I check this out? Do you think is it the sort of thing you should see on a big screen, or does it play just as well on my laptop or on the flat screen at home? Or
what I was surprised by, you're right, it is a very sort of muscular action movie, and the action sequences are really, really cool and really serious and big and dynamic and in all the ways that you want an action movie to be. But it also has this amazing heart. And like you were talking about these themes about, you know, togetherness and communication and putting aside differences. And also all the characters have been affected by this kind of faceless evil that's torn through the land and, you know, turned all these people into stone. So a lot of the characters are dealing with this huge loss, and there's this kind of loneliness that is all over the movie that feels very much like what we're dealing with now. I mean, we just hit the, you know, 500,000 mark last week of people who have been lost to this disease. So it's very 2021. But so, I mean, I'm saying that the emotional intimacy is there. If you want to watch it at home, you're still going to cry. Don't worry. But if you choose to see it in a big screen, I mean, it looks amazing, and it cannot be overstated what an accomplishment it is, considering I would say probably 85% of the animation was done from home in the last year. So it's really, I mean, you've heard stories of Kelly Marie Tran even saying that she did most of her dialogue in her closet. So it's a really great accomplishment. So any way you choose to watch it, Jim, you will be very happy.
All right, still thinking about it. So you've talked with the filmmakers, and again, obviously, you know, the fact that 85% of this got made from folks working at home. Do you have a favorite behind-the-scenes story from talking with these folks, or?
Oh, you know, I just feel like what I really like to hear was that, you know, we watched the Frozen thing and we saw how much people worked hard on that and spent hours and hours overtime and stuff. And what they said was, you know, we had like the theme of the movie is trust, and we had to trust the animators because there wasn't that constant back and forth. Like, I can, you know, go hang by your cubicle and ask you to adjust this one thing, or, you know, they didn't have time to do so many check-ins. So they really had to trust the animators to just take the scenes and bring them back in great shape so that they could put them in the movie, which I thought was really cool. I always love when animators have more kind of authorship over their shots, and so that was really inspiring and cool that the production of the movie mirrored the themes of the movie. I thought that was very cool.
Wow, okay. Really looking forward to this now. And again, without giving anything away, story points or that sort of thing, did you have a particular scene, a favorite scene, or a favorite sequence?
Yeah, there are a few that will really take your breath away, but I will just say that there are some incredibly cute creatures. See, Jim, you probably read like the children's book version of this, and you know every single story point that is in the movie, but they come across some interesting characters in one section of the land. Every land is devoted to a different part of the dragon. So, you know, there's sections that are tail and talon and heart and stuff like that. So there's one section they encounter some odd creatures, and all hell breaks loose, Jim. And it's a lot of fun. I think that was probably my favorite moment.
Okay, and do we have a particular favorite character in the film, or?
You know, without giving away who they play, I will say that Benedict Wong's character was a lot of fun. But also, Awkwafina as Sisu is an amazing performance. I compared her to Robin Williams in Aladdin on Twitter because she can kind of shapeshift and do all these things. And it's true. She is absolutely amazing. It's one of the strongest animated vocal performances I've heard in quite some time. So I cannot wait for everybody to see it.
Okay, well, all right. When hopefully, you know, by the next time we record one of these things, a lot of folks will have gotten a chance to have seen Raya, and we can talk a bit more about that. But until that time, if you're looking for stuff to listen to, Drew has some wonderful podcasts that he has, you know, himself. We have Light the Fuse and Light the Wick.
We've got the Light the Wick miniseries going on Light the Fuse. Just subscribe to Light the Fuse. You'll get all the Light the Wick episodes. And yeah, still going strong. I mean, we have so many episodes and talked to so many amazing people. You're going to get the full story of the John Wick franchise within a few weeks' time. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay. And you had talked on an earlier show about, I want to say Paul
Hirsch.
Paul Hirsch. I'm
Paul
sorry.
Hirsch, yes.
Paul Hirsch. Which again, I love his book. You know that
Yes.
Are those shows still coming up or?
They're coming up. We're going to have them for May the 4th, Jim. Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we have new stories with Paul. He actually reads a new chapter of his book, which is great to hear him do that. It's so fun and awesome. And it's a story about how he was almost going to edit Batman Forever. That's what I'll tease. But yeah.
Wow.
So, yes.
That would involve lots of machete work. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
All right. We've got Disney Dish with Lentesta. By the way, and again, I apologize this because you have to subscribe to get this, but the Bandcamp exclusive show that Aaron and Len put together, where we've got access to the original. Well, it's technically the second draft of the script for American Adventure that Ted Leinhardt had in his amazing Joseph Mankiewicz Epcot archive. But Len and Aaron recorded this with a full set of professional voice actors and got music from ASCAP, and it's unbelievable. Yeah, I think it's one of the best things they've ever done. So be sure.
I listened to that today, Jim. The only thing I was mad about was that Aaron didn't invite me to do a voice. I think I could be great in a number of roles. Well, I do declare this nation of America. That's sort of,
all right.
I think I could do that. I could do a number of. I've already written Aaron an email, so he knows.
Okay.
The next time he does this, he has to put me in.
All right.
So,
all right.
yeah.
We'll definitely keep that in mind. That again. Speaking of Aaron, Aaron is the gentleman I do the Marvelous Disney podcast with, and this coming weekend, looking to knock out a new Universal joint. Anyway, folks, again, you're missing out if you're not following Drew on social media. So can you tell folks how they can chase you down?
Yes, it's Drew Tailored, like a tailored shirt on Twitter and Instagram. And I'm always posting nonsense, Jim, on there. I always want you to engage, but you just stay away and say, let him drown himself.
No. I'm far too busy looking at wonderful pictures of Nova. The Wonder Dog. So
That's true.
So, all right. And I do occasionally post on Twitter, which you can find Twitter and Instagram. We're Jim Hill Media, and over at Facebook at Jim Hill Media News. And I guess that's going to do it for now. So thanks for listening, and Drew and I will be back soon.